Hey there, everybody in the FFBE Global Facebook group, and hello to everybody who sees this video on YouTube as well. Welcome to this week's episode of Ask an Old Mog, where we try and look at questions that you have in a visual format to try and get some answers about how to play the game and how to kind of make decisions about, what units you want to focus on and how you want to go after certain trials and how to use certain mechanics in the game. If you've never seen one of these videos, I try to pull questions that I find in the FFBE Facebook Global Group, just because I'm part of that community, and it's useful to just try and find good questions there, especially if we have like new units that are kind of coming out or that bring out new mechanics and things like that, because people usually have questions about how things work in the game. And today's question is an example of that. So was kind of browsing the group this morning and came across a question, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that up on the screen now, and then we will take a look at it in the game. So the question that I got, that I didn't necessarily get this question, but I saw this question and thought it'd be worth talking about, is right here. So someone posted, I just pulled Frost Blade Fryevia from a daily of all things. How good is she compared to, say, NVA Elena? And so I'm going to answer that question with a question, of course. And my question to you is, how good is she at what? And so when we think about different types of units, obviously you're bringing them in a trial or an event because they're going to be doing something specific for your team. Hopefully, you're building a composition of units that like do good things together, that can work together, like maybe based on elements or types of attacks or the support kit that they bring. And so it's important to think about a lot of different factors. And when it comes to these units, this is no exception. So what is she good at compared to Elena becomes very, very important. And here's what I mean. And there's going to be a lot of text on the screen, so I'm going to try and take my time and go through this. But each of these three units does different things. One question you want to ask yourself is, how good is she at doing damage compared to other units? In particular, Frost Blade Fryevia is a morale unit. She's for Clash of Wills, so I'm talking mainly about their morale scaling abilities here. Frost Blade Fryevia, she has two different forms. Her base form, all of her morale abilities are 275x, and then her shift form abilities are 555x. Which is, if you look at Elena, she's the second one on my list here. So F is Frost Blade Fryevia, E is Elena, and SE is Starlight Elena. Elena's is 750x, and you might think, that's maximum 100% totally filled out morale gauge. That's kind of where she's at in terms of damage. And you might think, wow, she's a newer unit. Why does she have a lower modifier than Elena when Elena does terrible damage? And I can vouch for it. Like, Elena's damage in Clash of Wills compared to other units is just horrible. So you might be like, well, why is her damage so much lower? One important thing you want to keep in mind, okay, is that Fryevia is a pure mage or a pure attacker, and she's not a hybrid damage dealer like Elena is or Starlight Elena is. And in Clash of Wills in particular, but also especially in Dark Visions, the effects of hybrid versus pure damage, it's pretty significant. Like, you have to work really hard to get Elena to hit as hard as other units, because her damage is like split between two different stats, attack and magic, as opposed to just attack or just magic. And so it matters a lot. And so just to kind of show you where I'm getting these numbers on screen, if you go into a unit and you click on their abilities, I'll just go ahead and click and hold on as your preparation. She does physical type magic based damage up to 275x, right here with this percentage gain. This is the percentage gain with the morale. So we see that here, 275x. Then you compare that to Elena. Her best morale skill is her piercing prism, which she can only use twice per battle. It's also her sword in peril, which is really good. It goes up to 750x. So we see that there. That's where I'm getting those numbers from. And then Starlight Elena, does not have any morale scaling skills except for her shift form limit burst, which is, here, this crystalline spectrum. And that is, pretty strong, 585, but it's still, not, it's still only as good as, you know, Starlight or Frost Blade Fryevia's best abilities, which it's roughly the same. Has the benefit of being on LB, so you get extra modifiers on it, but you know, still not that impressive, and definitely there's no like morale ability. It's just the LB. So there's that to consider, and she is also hybrid, and not just pure physical or pure mage. So she suffers from that. So in terms of damage, you know, Fryevia does come out on top, even though Elena's modifier is higher. But there's a couple of reasons for that. One, these units are not equipped with anything except for their own STMR or their own TMRs, you know, their weapon. Look at her stats. Those are higher, right? We're in the 32-33 range for both. We're in the 26-27 range. And again, 26-25 range or 28-27 range. So Fryevia, even at EX1, has better stats than these two, and they're all maxed out in terms of, you know, in terms of pots and doors and stuff like that. So part of that is her stats. Part of that is that she's focused on one element or one ability, attack or magic, and just, you know, those things matter. So in terms of morale damage, you know, Fryevia comes out on top. In terms of LB, Fryevia's LB damage is 195x modifier or a 250x modifier, depending on what form she's in. Elena's is 75, which is total trash. And then Starlight Elena's is 50x or 190x. Who comes out on top? Fryevia. So in terms of damage, you know, Fryevia is better than both of these, and will. We're gonna see that with breaks and support, you know, she's gonna be even better, you know, as we go. So there we go. So point one, Fryevia. Now let's talk about breaks. So Fryevia, depending on what form depending on your rotation that you're using, Fryevia either has an 80% or an 85% break, because her shift form, right, that's the breaker tag, has this skill, right? It starts out as 80 or 80, all 80% breaks. And then once you upgrade it after using the ability once, it becomes an 85% break to all, with 130 in perils to ice and light. And it also boosts her stats and does damage based on morale. So there's lots of good things about that, and it fills her LB. You know, so she's got this really nice break, 80 or 85, and then she also has, right, in her Magnus ability, an 85 or 88% break on the offensive side. So she's got some really nice breaking options. Again, with nice imperils, 135. Those are very nice breaks. Okay, these again 80, and then they get boosted to 85. So she's got a bunch of different options for breaking based on her rotation that you're doing with her. Pretty cool. Elena, she has one breaking skill. It's a 55% break. Now, she does have some imperils. We're going to talk about imperils in just a minute, but this, in terms of just stat breaks, this is what she's got. And she also does not have the breaker tag, so you can't equip her either form with the like Earthbreaker or the Thunderbird skill or the Lightbreaker or any of that stuff to give her a really nice break. She's stuck with this really, really bad break right here. You could give her the Obsidian Bracer, but that only triggers once, and yeah, that's not that good. So we don't want that. And then Starlight Elena has no breaks. The only thing she's got that she does any kind of, you know, support with is imperils. So yeah, you lose on this one too. So in terms of breaks, stat breaks, Fryevia, you know, the point goes to you. So we're so far we're two up against 0 for Fryevia versus the Elenas in terms of like what she does. Now here is where we're gonna get a little bit of flexibility. So in terms of support, all three of these units have some degree of really interesting support. Fryevia, you might think, oh, she's the newest one, so she's going to have all the flashiest stuff, and I don't think that's always the case. It just depends on what you want to bring. So Fryevia, she does have 135% ice and light imperils, depending on what forms you're using and what skills you're using. She's got a 45% ice and light amp. The light stuff is mainly for herself in her shift form. So if you look here, oh, she's actually got a 50% light boost, which is really nice, but it's only for her, compared to her base form has the ice boost, 45% for all allies, as well as a field effect, okay, and sword imperil, and accuracy down for the boss, And she can do ice imbue for the whole party, light imbue for herself only. She can do morale fill for you, LB fill for the party, MP fill for the party. Lots of nice supportive stuff depending on what she's doing, what role she's in. So she's got breaks on one side and buffs on the other. She's got stat buffs as well, mainly for herself. And then, you know, her LB actually does morale damage as well, so that's pretty nice, and it gives her a really nice mitigation only for her. But you could steal it with Zahn and spread it around, which is pretty cool. But she's got some really nice support. But I don't want to look down on Elena. So all of Elena's really good support comes in her shift form, and this is why I recommend to people, like, you know, you can get her fragments with trust coins right now, or not trust coins, EX coins. So like getting her to EX +1 just so you can access all of this is really nice. You know, especially this one right here, the crystal refragmentation. This skill removes all of this stuff, like, and then gives you 100% buff to all elements. Like, it's just a nice, like, ooh, the enemy just hit me with a bunch of stuff. I'm just going to remove all that and then boost ourselves back up. That's a really good, like, reset skill. But she's also got 250 to 280% all stat buffs. She's got HP barriers, physical and magical mitigation, stop and charm resist, the ability to remove breaks from your party and give you break immunity. She's got human and demon killer, ice and light imbue for the party, and along with some really low quality amps with shining northern lights, right? 15%, not that good, but it is an all allies light amp, right? Or this one is ice, right? Again, 15%. It is on a cooldown, so it's kind of tricky to use. She's got fairly decent morale fill with Beloved Heroine and Legendary Heroine that she can triple cast if you use her this cooldown protection of the Azure Crystal. So we've got lots of neat things. She's got a really nice skill that you can use on turn 1 of Clash of Wills to give you like mitigations and stuff like that, but it goes away once you get to the better end of morale for your party. But she's got a lot of really nice support for a party, as well as technically she's got a sword imperil. So she's got a 30% sword imperil, or sorry, a 25% sword imperil. Not as good as Fryevia's, but it is there. And you know, that's a thing, you know, if you want to use it. It also does fairly good damage too. So fairly good. It's not like super good. It's really only good in Clash of Wills, and even then, like, not that good. But I don't want to sleep on her support skills. Like, it's just they are there. It's just, you know, just depends on what you need. And then finally, you know, Starlight Elena, she does technically have this really nice Stella Marie. It does 130 water, 130 light. It does stat boost for her, LB fill for her. You know, it is some imperils, which are pretty nice. She's got this Star Supernova, which is pretty cool. It boosts her and then does some damage, and then, you know, does some good stuff. Okay, she's also got this Polaris ability, which removes enemy effects and then boosts up the caster's HP and MP, and then cures a bunch of stuff on the caster, and then removes breaks from the caster. So Polaris is kind of a nice support ability, kind of limited in like when you can use it since it is on a cooldown. She's got Celestial Brilliance at higher EX levels for 25% sword imperil and human and demon killer, and 50% water and light boost for herself. So kind of cool. Kind of selfish, but kind of cool. All right, so we've got a lot of neat, you know, not a lot, a few options. Her shift form is about the same, mainly human and demon killer in the shift form. You know, and she kind of focuses on doing damage there. But this is also where her only morale skill is, right? Her Crystalline Spectrum, which is morale based damage. So it is there. So, you know, not as robust as a support kit, but just depending on what you're doing, you know, what boss you're facing, or, you know, what kind of damage you're trying to do. I'm gonna give this one to either Fryevia or Elena. Now, I will say though that Fryevia is going to be much better at supporting the party at doing damage with her ice imbue, her ice amplify, and her ice field effect. And then also being able to apply that 50% accuracy down in the middle of a fight is super, super nice. Because you can then chain that together with Sky, which is going to be super, super valuable for a lot of Clash of Wills runs. So in the end, if I had to pick between a Fryevia or an Elena, let me just put it this way. If I had Fryevia even at EX +1 in the last Clash of Wills, I would have been able to cap it and get rank 1. But I didn't have her until yesterday. So that's just a thing. You know, I didn't pull for her on the banner because I didn't have enough lapis, and I've got a really strict rule about that. But she's very, very good. Very, very good. You know, she's not the unit that everyone wanted her to be because she's not another copy of Esther. You know, she's just not like that. But she does a lot of really nice things for your party. And I think she's a very good unit, and I think she's going to do more damage for you than Elena in both Clash of Wills and Dark Visions. So if I had to pick, if I was just strictly picking damage and support, I would choose, oh my gosh, it's Brooke's birthday. Okay. In 10 minutes. It would be, my pick would be Fryevia. But if there was a fight that I needed that all elements resistance buff, or the stop and charm resist, or the HP barriers and stuff like that, or if I wanted stat buff to choose me my buffer for some reason, I would choose Elena. So it just really depends on what you're doing. But I'm gonna say like 8 times out of 10, I'm gonna be picking Frost Blade Fryevia. And letting somebody else handle the like resistance buffs and the stat buffs and stuff like that. But you know, it is what it is. You should always be picking your units based on what trial you're doing anyway. And most of the time at this point, now that I have her, goodbye Elena, hello Fryevia. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So hopefully, like that kind of sense of like, you know, kind of comparison, looking just strictly at numbers and what they have available to them, is useful. And that's kind of how I think about like what I'm doing. And again, like, look at their stats: 32-33, 32-33, 27-26, 26-25, 28-27. Like, she just comes out on top, and she's only 80x +1. Don't have anything equipped except for their STMRs and their weapons and stuff like that they need. No espers or anything, no abilities. She's just so much easier to build and gear. You know, Elena takes like every single good thing that you have just to kind of get her to relevant damage, sort of relevant damage, useful damage, and it's just still not that good. So, you know, there it is. But she's also a free NVA compared to a pure Neovisions unit. But even like for sure, you know, Fryevia is way better than Starlight Elena at light damage for sure. And she can be imbued with water, at which point she'd be just fine at doing water damage. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one to Fryevia for sure. And that's what I got for right now. So if you've got a question that you want to see in next week's video, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna go hunting through the posts again and try and find something to share some opinions on and give some knowledge on. Next week, I'm hoping we're gonna have Clash of Wills, and so we'll see. You know, with DV ending next week, hopefully we get Clash of Wills right away, because I'm excited for whatever the new unit's going to be. I don't know what it, you know, I have no idea what it's going to be. You tell me what you think it's going to be. I have some ideas of what I think it's going to be. I've talked about that on stream over on Twitch, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Could be anything. But that's going to be it for right now, and I hope you guys all take good care of each other and be good to each other and be good to yourselves too, and we'll see you in next week's video. Thanks for tuning in.